Hello, there we go. There we go. I think I'm live now. I am live now. Greetings from Nairobi. I don't know where you're listening in from. It's just gone 8 p.m. in Nairobi, in East Africa in general. It's a cold, wet evening in Nairobi. And it's my great pleasure to be here live. I don't do live very often. If you scroll through my timeline, you'll find I do go live every once in a while, but it's not something I do habitually. I'm trying to create this habit, trying to make this something that I do. It's actually a lot simpler than to get a recording and get it edited and go through all of the motions. This is a lot easier where I just sit here and I share my thoughts with you. Thank you for coming in. Thank you for coming in. If you're listening to this live or if you're listening to a recording, put your comments, put your greeting in the chat, and let's have this conversation. Now, I'm planning to do a series. I just had this thought to do a series on midlife. I find it fascinating. I'm rather fascinated by the whole concept of midlife. I'm going to be sharing my thoughts in a series in a few weeks. I'm not sure how many weeks it's going to be. I'm just going to take this as it goes and see where this takes us. My policy is learning aloud. I like to think of myself as learning aloud. Whenever I'm learning something, I like to share it so that then all of us can grow together. I'm trying to adjust my camera here and make sure that I'm in the center of the picture. Now, like I said, I'm going to be having a series here. Let me just make sure I'm all comfortable. I have my drinking water here with me. Let me make sure that my phone is not going to disturb us. And let us do this. If you find this content useful, I would recommend that you share it. Share this with somebody, invite them to come listen in. Let's comment, let's converse with one another, because I believe no one has a monopoly on information, and our lives are altered, are improved by what we learn. And therefore, if you're learning something, please feel free to share it with other people. So, like I said, I want to share some thoughts on the whole concept of midlife. I have been fascinated with midlife the last while, actually, and I want to be doing this every once in a week. I think I'll do it at this time. I'll be doing it on Mondays at this time, so that then I fall into a habit. And I'm not very sure that midlife is a number. I don't want to describe midlife as a specific age, like if you get to this age, then you're in midlife. I don't think so. I'd like to look at midlife as the point you reach in your life when you figure that youth can no longer be your excuse. That's how I like to look at it. On the day you wake up, on the morning that you figure out, hey, I'm not sure youth can be my excuse anymore for whatever it is that I'm doing, then I think you're in midlife. You acknowledge that you've done your growing up, you're now grown up. It's called adulting sometimes, and I like that concept. I remember we were telling my daughters at one point when they turned adult that, hey, being an adult is a trap. You getting excited, oh, I'm getting my ID, I'm getting my driving license, I'm getting all of this, but hello, it also comes with responsibilities. So I want to look at midlife as that time in your life when you figure out youth can no longer be your excuse for whatever it is you want to do, you should be doing. Youth can no longer be your excuse, and therefore you must be in midlife. Now, I had an interesting story at one point. We were a group of women and we were having a jolly good time. And when it was time for us to go, our hostess said, hey, ladies, please drive carefully. Should you have an accident, the press are going to they are going to report this as a middle-aged woman had this, blah, blah, blah. And we all laughed. And I don't know why we look at if someone describes you as a middle-aged lady, I don't know why we thought that would be a negative thing. But I'm not sure that midlife is looked at as something positive. Most of the time you hear about crisis, and I'm going to be talking about the stages of midlife next weekend. So let's not jump the gun here, but midlife is usually not regarded as a very positive thing. People go into all sorts of emotional responses to the idea that they are no longer children. But I think it's a good idea for us to take it in our stride, because if I have learned anything in my 5 decades of being on earth, if I have learned anything, it's that life is made of seasons. There was a season when you needed to make all the mistakes that you've made. There was a season that you needed to accomplish everything that you've accomplished, and everything comes in seasons. I was just so grateful. We're just finishing the Easter weekend, and I was so happy that I had the whole family around. It's been a lovely, lovely weekend. I was mostly at home. I went out here and there, but we were mostly at home, and I had a lot of fun. I just noticed that my white nails are stained with food color, which should tell you what we've been doing all weekend. But it's been so much fun, and I'm in the season in my life where it's a lot of fun when the whole family is around. It's a treat for a mother when the children are back home and you can spend some time with them. It's been such a great pleasure. So that's going to say that it's all about seasons, really. It's all about season, and I'm in the season in my life where I don't live with all my children anymore, and when they come home, it's a great treat. So it's a good thing. There's positives to it, there's negatives to it, but definitely it's a good thing. Now, I remember at one point, and I'm saying this to say that midlife is not quite a number. It's not a function of you being 30 or 40 or 50 or 60 or 70. When on the day you wake up, like I said already, on the day you wake up and discover that, hey, I can no longer use youth as an excuse. To yourself, by the way, this is not about you talking to anybody or you being regarded by anybody, but in your own mind, I needed to accomplish A, B, and C. I'm too young. On the day you can no longer say to yourself, I'm too young to do this and that, then I want to think that you're in midlife, and so that this conversation we're having will be relevant to you. And I remember at one point, I must be in my early 30s by then, or mid 30s, but I remember us having a meeting, and we were being addressed by a couple that were 40. And I remember thinking, oh my goodness, these guys are so old, they're so advanced in age. Now I laugh about it because I would think that those are younger people at this point. But I remember them telling us how our lives are likely to change once we turn 40. And two points come to my mind when I remember that incident. The first thing the guy said was, you tend to become more intentional. You tend to be more deliberate about the things that you're doing. You tend to not just go through life just allowing things to happen to you. You become more intentional, whether it is to do with the friends that you keep, the work that you're doing, your finances and everything. You become a lot more intentional after 40. At that point, he was talking to us about being 40 and older, and I'm trying to borrow this concept into midlife, whatever age you figure that you're in midlife. And another thing he said was that he finds himself much more impatient now. He doesn't tolerate a lot. He doesn't endure things anymore. He's now conscious that, hey, hello, I've hit the midway part of my life. I've reached adulthood, whatever that means to you. And he figured, if something is not working, I stop. If there's something I need to do, I do it that much faster, that much sooner. He dropped the whole procrastination and everything, which tells you that one of the marks of midlife is you become more impatient, you become more intentional, you become more deliberate about the things that you want to do, you become more focused on getting your goals met, because you discover, hello, there is an urgency to life, that it's not all. You remember, as a child, you figure you have your whole life ahead of you, whatever that means, because none of us knows how long we have here. But when we are younger, we tend to be more careless with time. The one thing you want to consider about midlife is, hey, hello, I don't have that much time. My time is finite. I'm not going to be here forever. So then you want to get into the business of doing the things that you need to do. So that's me summarizing what I want to be talking about in this entire series, which I'm entitling the midlife series. But today I want to title our discussion today as "You Are a Creator." You are a creator, and one of the lessons that I have learned as I've gotten into midlife is, I'm a creator. I have created the life that I have. I have created all the circumstances of my life. Now, if you take an audit of your life with this midlife business, if you take an audit of your life, chances are you will discover there's those things in your life that you like, and there's those things in your life that you don't. That's just natural. That's the way life goes. So once you discover, hey, I'm at midlife. I like A, B, C, and D about my life, and that could be in the area of relationships, it could be in the area of finances, it could be in the area of your health. You might like one or two or three or four things about your life, and then you might dislike one, two, three, or four things about your life. Now, with all of that happening, it's a good idea for you to think through, what have I done that has brought me to where I am? So that then you figure, I am a creator. That puts the responsibility squarely on you for where you're at and for where you're going. Now, that is not to that is not to rubbish the divine. That is not to be non-religious. Of course, there is God, and of course, there is faith, and of course, there is everything that has happened to us. But it's about time you take responsibility for where you're at. The reason you want to do that is this: when there is someone to blame, when there is someone you can blame for what's happening to you, then you will never get out of the challenges that are in front of you. When there is somebody on whom you can place the blame, if, for example, and I've had a lot of challenges, and I'll be giving these examples as I go along. I've had a lot of challenges, and I want to call them lessons. I've basically had life smack me across the face quite a few times. And it was not until I acknowledged, where I get to the place where I say, hello, I am where I am by my own doing, then I was not able to change anything in my life. So it's a good idea to think to yourself, I have created the good and I have also created the bad. What I like and what I don't like are all creations of my actions, because everything about my life has been a result of the decisions that I have made, of a particular turn. I go to a particular fork on the road and I either turned left or I turned right. But whatever choices I made, whatever decisions I made, are how I got here today. So, first thing you want to do is take full responsibility, lose your blame list. I've probably said this more often than I've said anything else, that losing the blame list is one of the best things that you can do towards your development. You losing your blame list, that's one of the best things that you want to do. Another thing you want to do is focus on what is good. If you're taking an audit of your life and thinking, okay, I'm no longer a kid, I'm no longer a child, I need to start adulting, I need to start doing things differently, I need to look at my life differently. Whatever audit you are doing of your life and thinking, if I'm going to meet my goals, then I'm going to have to change A, B, and C and D, I strongly recommend that you focus on what is good. Focus on what has worked well. A lot of the times we go into regret, we go into sorrow about what hasn't worked out well in our lives, and that is not good for us, because it puts your mind, and remember I said you're a creator, it puts your mind on what is wrong. Let me take an example of finances. My finances are not right, I'm not able to meet my bills, I have all of these challenges, I am deeply in debt, whatever my financial position is. If I start to regret and say, oh, if I hadn't done this, I wouldn't have lost my job. If I hadn't done this, my business would have done better. I'm focusing on what is negative. And what you're focusing on tends to grow. What you're focusing on tends to grow. So put your focus on what you would like to have had happen. Put your focus on what has worked well, because that is what you're able to grow. That is what you're able to multiply. Don't be the kind of person. And anyway, focusing on what you've done wrong or what someone else has done to you, whatever is not positive about your life, focusing on that makes you a very negative person. So that makes you bad company, which makes you perform worse at the job or at the business, because people want to be around a positive person. People want to be around somebody whose negative is positive, whose energy, is positive. So you want to focus on what is happening. Another thing you want to do is you want to be very clear about what you want to create. If you can just keep in mind that I am a creator, I am the architect who is fashioning my own life. And this is the life I want to create. Write it down, draw a clear picture in your mind of what it is that you want to create. Be very, very clear. I like to write. I don't know what works for you. For some people, what works for them is getting a vision board and putting pictures of what it is that they would like to accomplish. For some people, they like to write. I'm the category that likes to write. I write a lot. So I'd like to write down what my dream is. I'd like to write what I'm going to accomplish. And I can give you story after story about some of the miracles, absolute, that have happened in my life. Things which really there is no explanation except they came to be because I had a clear picture in my mind. So even if I'm going into prayer, I know what I am praying about. I have a clear picture of what I'm trying to create in my life. There's one concept we are taught all the time called faith. And I never understood faith until somebody told me that faith is imagination. Because you're told you can't please God without faith. You can't have your prayer answered unless you believe. And I would ask myself, what does belief look like? And it finally hit me when one teacher said that faith, belief is imagination. If I'm praying for a specific thing, if I'm praying for a particular outcome, if I can picture it in my mind, and the more crisp my picture is, the more clear my picture is in my mind, the sooner I'm going to accomplish that dream, the sooner I'm going to get that objective met. So you want to be very clear about what you want to to create, because you are a creator. And then another thing is this: hello, you want to allow yourself to dream, you want to allow yourself to want. That might sound odd, me saying that, but a lot of times as adults we don't allow ourselves to dream. We don't allow ourselves to wish on ourselves things which we haven't seen before, which we don't know how to accomplish, which for whatever reason we tend to think we haven't earned, we don't qualify for. And unfortunately, that's not the right way to pray. That's not the right way to dream. Dream the impossible dream. Create a picture in your mind so big that you have no idea how you can accomplish this dream. Keep your mind focused on that dream and then follow your instinct, your intuition on what actions to take. And I promise you, you will be surprised at what will happen in your life. So allow yourself to want. You've probably heard me tell this story. I tell it all the time, of a pastor that I knew growing up who wanted to live in Nairobi. He found every excuse to come to the city. And how would I know he stayed with us when he came to the city? And I remember asking myself with the innocence of a child, has he considered living in Nairobi? He probably was raised in the village and thought he is only entitled to a life in the village, but he had this deep desire to be in the city, and the desire came across as whenever he found any small excuse, he came to the city and he stayed for as long as he could. Allow yourself to want what you want. I've seen a lot of people, and that's possibly what gives birth to the concept of hating, of jealousy. If somebody has got something you think you don't qualify for, how do we react as human beings? We often hate them, we often find negative things to say about them. Have you considered wanting the same thing for yourself? If your boss has a beautiful life, if they are making more money than you, they live better than you, they drive a better car, they take their children to better school, have you considered wanting that? Just think to yourself, hey, I'd like to have a beautiful house like that. Rather than hate on the people who stay there and start saying the rich people are corrupt, they're evil, they've done something negative to have this. Allow yourself to want it, because there is nothing on earth which you cannot accomplish. There's just nothing you cannot accomplish. If you don't have faith in yourself, have some faith in God. Possibly you don't know how to accomplish this big goal, but God does know how to accomplish it. He is God. There is nothing impossible. I found this a very, very liberating thought. Desire is God's gift to you, and that's the channel through which He gives you your dreams. I'm going to let that sink for a minute as I sip water. The fact that you desire it means that God has planted that in your mind, in your heart. The fact that you're looking for this thing, the fact that you are yearning for this thing, whatever your big goal is, the fact that you're yearning for it. I, for example, have no desire whatsoever to win an Olympic marathon. I might be Kenyan, there's athletes all over our country, but that's not a desire in my mind, meaning I don't have the capacity, I don't have the inclination, I don't have whatever it is that it takes to be a world-class athlete. I have other dreams. Now, the specific dreams I have been put in my heart by God, meaning that I am capable of accomplishing them. Possibly not in my own strength, possibly I have to rely on the divine. So allow yourself to want the impossible. In fact, one person put it this way: don't pray for something which you know how to achieve. Don't write down in your goals, I want to achieve this, when it's something that you know how to achieve. That's a tiny goal. Put down a goal which you have no idea how that will come through, because God is going to create it through you. If you keep your mind focused on what it is that you want to achieve. Remember, we are talking about midlife. We are talking about you gathering a sense of urgency. We are talking about you finally living the life that you've thought about all through your youth. So you want to allow yourself to want what you want. Now, acknowledge that you're a creator. You have created by omission as well as by commission. You have created by the things you have done and by the things you have not done. But that is not to condemn you. Any day can be the first day of the rest of your life. You can turn it around today. It doesn't have to be New Year's Day. It doesn't have to be your birthday. It doesn't have to be any specific age. I say the way I define midlife, and if you're just joining us, I'm talking about midlife, and I'm talking about how that's not a specific number, it's not a specific age, it's just something which, it's just the age at which you figure out youth can no longer be my excuse. If on the day you decide, hey, I can no longer use youth as my excuse, then you're in midlife. You're at the place where you now want to take the reins of your life. You now want to get in the driver's seat of your life. If you're at that place, then acknowledge what you have done well, acknowledge what you have done not so well, and go ahead and create the life of your dreams, because you're capable of doing that. Your desires have been put in your heart by God, and they have been put there because you have the capacity to achieve them. There is only there's something that only you can do in the world. Unfortunately, we tend to compare. We tend to compare our lives with other people, and yet that's the most pointless, useless thing to do, because there is no other copy of you in the whole world. There is just no other copy of you. You are the only person who has your specific traits and combination of abilities and inabilities. But whatever it is you need to accomplish the life of your dreams, you have it already. I actually had that as a liberating thought for me at one point, because I'm the kind of person who likes to learn all the time, who likes to learn. And that's a good thing. I think that that's a strength. I like to tell myself that I always stay teachable. That's a positive thing. I like to stay teachable. But I caught myself at one point looking for the next book to read, looking for the next course to take, looking for before I could start the particular business that I wanted to do at the time. And at one point, one speaker said this, and it really spoke to my heart. He said, you have everything you need. Everything you need to accomplish your specific purpose in life, you have it already. Don't come from a place of deficiency. Don't think to yourself that there's something I don't have that someone else has. It's okay to partner with other people, but for your specific purpose, for your specific goal, you already have everything that you need to to accomplish your dream. So that's it there. I don't want to speak too long. If you know me at all, you know I don't speak for very, very long. I actually keep my recorded videos very short. This has already gone on for a while. Let's see. Oh, that's 23 minutes. Not too long. That's not too long. I'm happy with myself, but I've been able to communicate what I wanted to do. Like I said, I am doing a series on midlife, and this first one I was talking about how you are a creator. You are a creator. You have already created the life that you have. You can go on and create the life that you want. You want to be in this same spot next week at this time, because I'm going to be talking about the stages of midlife. We want to know how to navigate them positively, and I'm just sharing my thoughts. I'm just sharing my lessons through life. And so please give me your comments in the chat. You can inbox me and give me your comments and any questions that you have, so that we keep this interactive, and let's learn as we go through midlife. I'm not sure I introduced myself at the beginning. My name is Mweteeli. I'm a personal development expert. I live in Nairobi, and this has been my great pleasure. I'm going to see you again next week. Have a very good evening or a good day, depending on when you see this. Bye-bye.